Les promoteurs immobiliers ont un grand rôle à jouer dans les défis environnementaux, sociétaux, climatiques qui sont en cours actuellement. Et pour y répondre, la société Athénor a créé une cellule de réflexion appelée Archilab, un think tank, une sorte de laboratoire d'idées dans lequel on va retrouver différents experts. Alors rapidement, ce laboratoire est devenu un do tank dans lequel toutes ces idées, ces réflexions sont devenues des actions concrètes. Parmi les réunions qui ont été faites dans ce Archilab, une thématique est venue qui est le ESG, qui veut dire environnement, social et gouvernance. Et pour ce faire, j'ai réuni deux experts pour nous en parler. Alors je vais d'abord dire bonjour à Federico Pezzolato.
Thank you very much for the invitation. First of all, ISS is a corporation advising other companies in order to improve their ESG performances, and we work also in the sustainable finance domain.
And our second expert of today, it's Sydney Benz, and you are Chief Financial Officer at Athénor. Federico, could you explain to us what ESGs are, the purposes and their implication in the real estate sector?
When we think about the real estate sector, clearly we are thinking about buildings where we live and work, and we have passed a lot of time, clearly, of our life within these structures. And according to the IPCC and the WRI, buildings account for the 17% of GHG emissions in terms of CO2 equivalent. So they play a relevant role in terms of emissions and potential pollution. So there is a very strong element that is considered in terms of environmental impacts. But we have to remember that also buildings are part of the major trend of this century, that is the urbanization, and there are really we have to consider them in sense for their contribution to the ecosystem at large. So we are not just talking about environmental aspects, but also social aspects, the quality of life of the people that work in these buildings and live in these buildings. So we need to keep a 360 degrees approach towards sustainability when we think about real estate. And this is why, for instance, ISS in our ESG rating assessment, and when we work with companies, we don't only focus on the environmental performances of buildings, but we consider also their, in general, the safety of the building themselves for workers and people living there, the well-being, the responsible site selection as well, so the connection with the public transport. And as I said, it's important to consider the ecosystem around the building and not just the building itself.
Sydney, could you explain to us what is Athénor's position in relation to what has just been explained?
As an urban real estate developer with European expertise, Athénor must provide its clients, institutional investors or private clients, buildings that are part of sustainable urban environment. More than buildings, it's about a new way of working and living in a sustainable city. That what our baseline express, acting for cities. Our think tank, Archilab, as you mentioned, has brought together all ideas and experience enriched by listening to external professionals. Initiative launched by the United Nations with its SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, the standards of office certificates BREEAM, for example, and housing energy performance certificate that we were already applying, but also the very high quality of our projects, the way we finance them, our policy of human resources and corporate governance have allowed us to formalize our action according to criteria of ESG. Based on a sustainability report, we have already implemented a new version of a long-term financing program, for example, for specifically institutional investors. Based also on the preparation of our sustainability report, we were able to develop a green finance framework project, a key tool to explain the market or concrete approach to sustainability financing.
I think that Federico has a question for Sydney.
Yeah, indeed. Out of curiosity, I would like to have some practical examples of the way in which Atenor is incorporating this concept, this vision in some projects.
In 2016, for example, Atenor delivered the Trebel building, known today under the name of WIM building, to the European Parliament. Impressive in more than one aspect, this building has a geothermy that has pushed back the limits of environmental technology applied to construction in Brussels. More recently, Atenor delivered to its owner, a benchmark international investor called Deka Immobilien, the One building, chosen in June 2020 by European Commission because the characteristic of the building fulfilled the green criteria requested by the EU Green Deal. And in January 29 this year, Atenor signed with the European Commission a purchase agreement for the future delivery of the new conference center, replacing the previous one. The European Commission itself declared that this building, RealX, will be fully in line with the objectives of the Green Deal. Elsewhere in Central Europe, in Budapest in particular, we built, leased, and sold since 2012 6 new buildings for 120,000 square meters.
Thank you both. See you soon to another video, Archilab, about zero carbon.